to La Republique, all those weapons have now been converted to the Southern Cameroon territory. And with the support of the French government, all the military equipment, new military equipment, uniforms and everything has been supplied by the French government. And including those that the United States Department of Defense provided to La Republique to help them in the Boko Haram crisis. The number of deaths that occur in the Boko Haram is not up to the number that the Southern Cameroon, they almost surpassed at least 5,000 citizens has all been killed by this brutal regime of Pobia in the Southern Cameroon territory. And so therefore I am calling on the U.S. Congress to act now to diffuse the crisis of the people of Southern Cameroon. I am asking the United States Congress, as you go home today in this weekend, but I want you to have the back of your mind that not everybody go home the same. So as I sit here to speak about this crisis, I am asking the U.S. Congress, I'm asking the president of this great nation, Donald Trump, please don't leave silent. Please act now because the people are in distress call. I am going to show you another images of what is happening in the people of Southern Cameroon, the Federal Republic of Ambazonian. This image I'm going to show you is going to be very painful to watch. These are children that their parents have been killed and the little one is there just to help. I mean, just imagine how frustrated, and I, as I'm speaking, I feel the pain of these two little child taking care of their own sibling, and the child cannot even take care of himself personally, but is obliged to do so in the midst of atrocity by an invasion of the people of Southern Cameroon, now the Federal Republic of Ambazonian. It is painful to see this child taking care of his siblings because the parents have all been killed. If one has a feeling of a human dignity, I will expect the United Nations to call immediate session. But unfortunately, as Nikki Haley described it, she hoped that by coming to the United Nations, she was going to do a reform and that they can understand the vision. But unfortunately, she has found that the United Nations is the worst corrupted system on the planet. Just imagine that the United Nations is supporting the terrorists. United Nations is backing the most brutal regime rather than the goal in which United Nations was formed. And you can see this child taking care of the loved ones, the sibling, because their parents was brutally murdered. I'm sure everyone is feeling the pain as well. If the United Nations were responsible, if the United Nations was responsible, if the United Nations has stood up and said, I recognize the people of Southern Cameroon as a sovereign nation, the people of Ambazonia as a sovereign nation, we would not have reached in this crisis. When this child stood helplessly and having the young one without means, it is painful to watch these images. It is absolutely painful to watch these images that the child stood helplessly because they don't know where to go. His dad, his mom has been brutally slaughtered by the evil regime of Pobia. And yet, France government is initiating and supporting this brutal dictatorship because France controls every aspect of the United Nations, France controls every aspect of the NATO, France controls every aspect and the European Union, and therefore no action is taking place. And one will expect the British government to act because they have more understanding the value of the people, because we cherish the same value and cultural upbringing. But unfortunately, Britain remains silent. Even the British Parliament remains silent. One will expect them to act accordingly. And so the only last result is the United States government. And so therefore we are here asking the United States government, will you be able to do something and help human crisis? You can see this is a recent military equipment that just supplied by the French government to this brutal regime to protect them against the sovereignty of the people of Southern Cameroon. That is a very, very painful. France is more concerned with the crisis because the oil refinery in Victoria, the mineral resources in Victoria. That is why France is providing every equipment necessary so as to encourage La République continue to invade the people of Southern Cameroon. La République could not afford this type of military equipment except French government are able to speed in the process of providing all this equipment against the citizens of the Southern Cameroon that are struggling to live their lives in the way they can live. Remember, in 1961, United Nations, 64 nations voted overwhelmingly support the independence of the people of Southern Cameroon. And yet, they haven't in any been able to live in a peaceful mind, peaceful will in their own territory. But they'll continue to live from hand to hand and being slaughtered from one regime to the next regime. And that is why I am speaking here this evening. I'm calling for the United States government. It's time to stood up. Bill Clinton did so against the Kosovo. George Bush Sr., Jr. and Sr., they did so in Iraq. And so President Obama did so against the crisis. And so therefore, we are asking the United States, can you once more do so for humanitarian crisis? I know United States Department of Defense has pulled out its military assistance, but that is not enough. United States need to do more. Let me show this again. I hope you were able to watch. This is a special military uniform that is provided by the French government recently to provide assistance to this brutal dictatorship and block United Nations to act. And that is why the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres remains silent, and he doesn't even want to bring the matter up to the United Nations debate, to even discuss about what is going on. The block is, they asked a subsection of the United Nations, someone that has earlier declared that nothing was happening and that there were a few hands of people. And that is the same person they are asking to handle the crisis. What is the matter with this United Nations? That is why I am calling on the President of the United States to can single-handedly close the United Nations here. And then we have a better United Nations that is responsible and act accountably. Remember, Bill Clinton, in a single hand, asked Butu Gali to leave the United Nations. And they had a new person that supersedes. And if we have to have this type of United Nations body in this world, then the world is heading to a collision. So I am asking the United States government that it's time we stand up for human dignity. It is painful. I'm sorry for my light is not. It just was an urgent that I have to speak to today, but I think it's just. This is what. Let me open it. This is the defensive method that citizens are using to prevent military from going from home to home and slaughtering citizens of the southern Cameroon. So they decided to fell trees to block the way to prevent this military, because most of them are living in the forest. And that is why La République is now in every home. Burn down the home, burn the hospital, burn including patients, and it is painful. And that is why you can see from these images trees in which the citizens are felling down just to block access for military to go in and destroy their property. You can see from these images how painful it is when citizens are using every means. As you can see, these are images